We are live. We are recording.
All right, we are live. Good afternoon. It is 12:01. Welcome to the webinar, everybody, on the Governor STEM Advisory Council's STEM BEST, Businesses Engaging Students and Teachers, and STEM RLE, Redesign Learning Environments, informational webinar in the event that partners out there are willing to submit a proposal for us. So over the course of the next 60 minutes maximum, perhaps less than 60, myself and teammate Christine Bullock will be taking you through details and backstory to these two outstanding partnership models. I noted through the registration list prior to logging in today that we've got a number of strong STEM partners on the webinar today listening in, and for you folks, we are grateful. I see some current STEM BEST and STEM RLE partners are logged in. I see some STEM Seal of Approval partners, some Scale Up partners, IT Academy, and so on. So I'm going to start the webinar with a real brief background about what brings us all together. For those who are unaware, this Governor's STEM Advisory Council has been in operation since 2011. And it was an executive order of Governor Branstad that launched the STEM Council, and bipartisan support of the Iowa legislature to fund this STEM Council, which now to this point is pleasantly matched almost by private sector investments, grants, and in-kind contributions on the part of our partners. So we are maximally leveraging this state investment and through partners as those we're about to make here today. So over the course of this 4 years, a priority of the Governor's STEM Council became strengthening the ties between the education sector of Iowa and the private sector, the business and industry sector of Iowa. And STEM has really taken on that brand, not just here in Iowa, but certainly nationally. STEM is a bridge between the world of industry and the world of education. Its genesis, its motive, is to establish a talent pipeline pathway from Iowa's pre-K-12 education systems to post-secondary study in the STEM fields to great careers in STEM, hopefully right here in Iowa for our graduates. In 2013, the STEM Council made the decision to invest in a select few partners who would design cutting-edge, redesigned learning environments. And 4 of them were awarded in 13, and they bore fruit in 2013-14, and I'm going to show you an excerpt from a couple of them in a couple of minutes. And in 2014, the STEM Council made its decision to award a similar pool of funding to very purposeful community school business partnerships called STEM BEST models, businesses engaging students and teachers. Christine Bullock so ably led the task force that developed the STEM BEST vision and application and award process, and now shepherds the 5 models that are out there in the States. So she'll be on shortly to share backstory on STEM BEST. So the whole intent is that we partner with models, pilots, exemplars that we could showcase across the state. This is a seeding, much befitting our state, that STEM is planting the seeds of a futuristic vision of education. And STEM BEST and STEM RLE are, we're convinced, visions of the future of education in the state. So we need more partners, we need more showcases, we need more models for others across Iowa to glimpse and say, so that's what it looks like. That's what this is all about. Well, before I get into the application, I just want to mention that in addition to STEM BEST and RLE, I mentioned that Scale Up is another signature program of the STEM Council, carried principally by a Spartan team of regional STEM managers, of which Christine Bullock is one in the Southeast, and we'll mention our other 5 here shortly. We place teachers in externships in the summertime, a program you may want to be aware of, especially that it factors into the STEM BEST proposal, and to a lesser degree the STEM RLE with regard to teacher professional development. We operate an IT Academy program for 150 schools of the state. Code Iowa program last fall and this coming fall, coinciding with Computer Science Week, orchestrated by my teammate here, Angel Mendez. We pioneered a STEM endorsement through the Board of Educational Examiners, something that teachers on the line may particularly want to tend to. We offer a seal of approval for exemplary programs across the state that aren't necessarily ours, but they align so strongly with our goals that we invite applications for the STEM Council's seal, which strengthens our partnership. We have a robust messaging campaign across the state, including the logo that you see, Greatness Stems from Iowans. We offer, through the Regional STEM Network of Managers, a number of regional, local STEM festivals over the course of the year that unite families and communities behind the STEM challenge bars. That's the long and short of the STEM Council, and now I'm going to move specifically into these two proposal opportunities. I'm going to start with the BEST-RLE from 2013, and then we'll hand it to Christine for the STEM BEST model. So my techno wizard Matt here. Matt, would you bring up the application, the proposal for the STEM-RLE? There you go. So anybody who's logged into iowastem.gov, you've noticed that thanks to our teammate Angel and her hard work with the website, that this proposal is up and partially fillable when you click on the link prominently underneath the banner, and then the remainder is a downloadable PDF. And I'm going to stroll through the RLE component. I've essentially already addressed the background with you, as well as the introduction, the intent of why we're doing this. Option A, once again, will be Christine's domain. So I'm going to scroll to option B, the STEM redesigned learning environment. The whole intent here is to design a physical learning space that some would be challenged to recognize as a school. I'll show you a couple of models in a minute. They're collaborative workspaces that we've come to learn resemble the world of work insofar as the dismantling of rows of chairs and decentralizing the role of the teacher, technology-rich supportive learning environment, and flexible furnishing. Integrated STEM curriculum, a really key component. STEM's hallmark not only in uniting the worlds of education with industry, but a merging of the disciplines across the science, technology, engineering, mathematics domains, and more. The arts, music, family consumer science, agriculture. There's a lot more to STEM than merely those 4 letters anymore. And that principally calls for a redesign of the curriculum and the professional development of educators such that they're comfortable with integration of the disciplines. And then the third key component, community partnerships, uniting with higher education, STEM businesses and organizations, active learning or informal education opportunities, the zoos, the nature centers, the children's museums that might be in your midst. Top quality STEM RLE proposals address all this. We give you ample background in the form of appendix for what would an innovative learning space look like, what might a professional development experience look like for teachers, and what would such partnerships look like, appendix D, E, and F respectively. And of course, we'd like to know that your school district already prioritizes STEM and that this award would dovetail or augment the goals of your district, and that you have a financial model sound for the expenditure of the grant, and that you're willing to collect evidence to feed back to us. You're eligible for this application if you're an Iowa private public school district or a potential partner, a higher ed representative or a business representative or a non-formal out-of-school representative who intends to draw a school partner in. The application needs to emanate from the school partner, but it could certainly be spearheaded by any one of the triad representatives. Of course, you're aware of our timeline. If you're on the webinar today, you're noting that it is July 22, and here we are, due date of September 1. The review process will happen just as hastily as we can make it go, so that awards can be announced on November 2, giving awardees the bulk of late fall, winter, spring, and a bit of summer to fulfill their commitment. I know the question comes up often that this is a constrained time frame, and to that all I can say is I'm sorry that the Governor's STEM Advisory Council enjoys an annual appropriation, and the books close on us every year at the end of June. And so until we win the right for a carryover or some other more imaginative continuous funding stream, this is a reality that we have to impose on our partners as well. So I'm skipping once again the STEM BEST option A to focus on RLE. Available are $25,000 grants. We've committed one at least to all 6 regions of the state. I say at least because there's a slim possibility that through our Assistant Director for Development, Carrie Rankin, and others, we may discover additional resources to augment this appropriation line and position us to make more than one award per region. But at the current time, by current configuration, at least one RLE or STEM BEST per STEM region of the state for a total of 6. In option B, expenditures include furnishings and technology purchases. It can involve travel support for district teams to visit one of our 4 existing partners perhaps, or a conference that you become aware of, professional development expenditures, other unforeseen costs, and we can keep in touch with awardees on other possible uses of those funds. We are requiring a cost sharing in the amount of $25,000, either in real dollars or in some cost sharing match whereby the school district has on paper and documentable another $25,000 investment of some form. We get into the proposal requirements. I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's quite self-explanatory. And in fact, I'm going to shoot down to the elements past RLE to option B. Certainly we will want to hear about operational plans that account for physical space, technical support, etc., to create an environment that allows for the broadest possible interactivity among teachers, students, and partners. We'll expect and hope that you develop a cutting-edge STEM curriculum that integrates and multidisciplines the learning experience for students, and we'll hope that you establish genuine community partnerships of partners in every sense of the word, equal players in the generation of curriculum and teaching and learning. The cost share already mentioned, a professional development experience to equip your faculty to honor the learning space as a cutting edge. Dissemination, we'll ask everybody to serve as a model. Awardees are celebrated as partners for the Governor's STEM Advisory Council, and will then open, with your permission, with your partnership, your doors to others who would like to replicate what you're working on. And then finally, evaluating. We'll hope that you collect data not only on the physical space, the curricular changes, and student impact as much as possible. So there come the appendices, the STEM BEST curriculum that Christine will talk about, community-based partnerships, what they might look like, with links to additional information, professional development opportunities. We'll help you, Christine, myself, as well as our regional STEM managers, identify professional development opportunities. Innovative learning spaces exist. We highlight the three public universities, not to say that there aren't others, but the University of Iowa has been very generous, opening up the tile classroom for study on the part of our previous awardees. University of Northern Iowa has the transformative education environment model that they're also willing to open up for perusal and browsing by awardees. And at Iowa State University, I don't have the title committed to my memory, but a redesigned learning environment takes place at ISU as well, with connections listed in the event that you'd like to tour them in your planning stage. What would an integrated curriculum look like? We try to give you some help there. Community-based partnerships. And The scoring rubric that your proposal will be subject to starts here. It's going to look just like the 7 elements with points awarded based on reviewers' capacity to discern from your proposal how strongly it aligns with the hopes, dreams, and vision of the council's designers. Additional resources in terms of literature, schools that are marching down this pathway, equipment lists. We have 3 providers we know of who will help with furnishing. So we put them all there. We advocate for none in particular. We don't endorse any. In another sense, we endorse all. Anybody who comes to us with products of quality that would like to be listed, we are. We're up to 3. And then there's purchase lists. And I believe that rounds out the proposal. So I'm going to ask Matt to bring up the videos. I'm going to show you just a couple of them to give you an idea of who these 4 are and how you might glean some insights from the 2013 awardees for the redesigned learning environments, starting with Davenport West High School. Let's take a look at a couple of these for the good of the cause, and then we'll circle back to Christine.
They came to me a couple years ago and with the idea that they wanted to combine a science and math class. And they asked, is it possible? And I said yes. And we're like, okay, well, we've got this room and we want to do it for a 9th grade academy.
So we combined my geometry class with Hensel's 9th grade earth science class. And so we spent the entire summer last summer combining our 2 sets of standards and aligning them up so that they'd fit well together.
They wanted to make it like it was a 21st century, one of those jobs that hasn't been created yet, and to give our kids the opportunity to just learn how to effectively collaborate with one another.
You'll see some kids on the smart boards. You're going to see some kids writing on the glass boards. You might see kids with pencil and paper. You got kids building things like our projects around in here, building physical models. Kids all over the place. There is a kind of a loud classroom, I would say, but it's a good loud. I mean, they're talking about math, they're talking about science, talking about how they work together. And
right now we're building lunar space stations, and with the smartboards and Chromebooks, there's a lot of research we have to do with them, and there's a lot of information we have to find that we couldn't necessarily find in other classrooms when we don't have the internet access.
Well, it makes me want to learn more, that we get more hands-on learning. We don't really have to listen to the teacher all the time. He can teach it and we can actually do it instead of sitting there and watching like in every other class.
That's the biggest thing. These kids want to do stuff with their hands. They want to play around with the technology. They want to create it and they can make it for themselves. They're more self-responsible and self-learners.
And I think that by the time they got to their 2nd, 3rd, and now this is their 5th project, I mean, they don't ask us those kind of questions anymore, the how-to stuff. They just do it.
The importance of having a classroom like this is so that we can get the idea that the typical sit down, show a presentation, teacher talks, kids listen, we can kind of start to steer away and give these kids more of an education that they need, in the sense that let's let them discover what they want to do. Let's give them some guidelines, but we can still lead them to what they need to know, they want to know, they have to know. But if they do it in their own way, it's going to mean a lot more to them than what we could ever tell them.
I think it just gives you so much freedom. I mean, we have almost 50 kids in here, and 50 different ways of learning, 50 different ways of doing things. They can do whatever they want, however they want, pretty much wherever they want. They know what they have to do, and they get after it. And that's awesome for 14, 15-year-olds to already be working that hard on stuff like that.
What fun. Truly inspiring at Davenport West. Matt, let's show one more. And before we do, in the event that attendees want to ask questions of Christine and I, do they have that option?
They have a question and answer box.
There's a Q&A text box. Okay, so we'll visit that after Christine's remarks to see if anybody has questions here today. But so fire them away, and we'll also leave emails at the end of the session so that you can reach us privately if you prefer. Let's go to Hoover, Des Moines Hoover, for one more of these, and then Christine will come your way.
We never ever thought about going to this level till this opportunity came up. And when this opportunity hit, it all of a sudden changed the way we thought about how this STEM Academy could move forward. All of a sudden we try to give these kids an experience in high school in an environment that was similar to the environment they might be working in college, in the workplace, how they'd be working in those spaces. We thought, okay, we can do this. We can now make this a realization. This room was specifically designed so all teachers had access to a space. So this room isn't specific to any teacher. It's a room specific to the school. And we wanted this particular space to allow kids to do a lot of different things. If I am not high tech, there's a place for me to go, be comfortable, and not be bothered by the fact that I don't know how that technology works. Or if I don't like to work in groups, can I still be in this space and work by myself? You sure can. We designed all of that, from low tech to high tech to large group to small group, in this room alone. Miss Caskey's room is designed strictly for the math that's taught in that room. And it's just a model classroom to help other teachers and other schools that are maybe thinking about this idea of what the governor's office has really put out there for us, this challenge of how do we think about learning environments. And so every room has a different flavor, but they all have a similar flavor, and that was intentional, and it will be for every room hereafter. That will be an intentional piece of, oh, I can tell I'm in a STEM room.
Okay, so here is
Mr. Nee's room is our Project Lead the Way classroom. That room was the quintessential 1960s in a cubicle by myself. So we broke those walls down. We literally removed every cubicle in there and spread it wide open and said, wait a minute, we need like a maker space. We need space where kids can spread out.
this environment has really changed the way we teach because it's all project-based now. So instead of just showing the students pictures in a textbook on how something would work, now we can actually assemble and create an authentic project.
I like to work with others, and I like to be able to talk to my friends while I'm working. And this is better for that. But we've been 3D modeling things and building stuff in this class. And that's kind of what I've been doing for my game for software design as well.
So now they can take it from the computer and create the 3D model on the computer, and now we can actually go print out a prototype of that 3D model and make it real. And so they're not just looking at it virtually on the screen, but now they're actually looking at a real model that was generated by them and printed out on a 3D printer, which has been huge. It just kind of brings the learning full cycle. It actually has them work as real engineers within the classroom.
That's what it's about. It's about keeping kids attached to schools and attached to their own learning, and to just make it better. And that's the bottom line.
All right, let's pause on those two. It's really exciting to sit here and think that on this webinar today, there are partners out there queued up to join us as the next redesigned learning environments. It's not a whole lot of money, we realize, but the cause and the call is so profound that you would be willing to partner with the STEM Council to design a future-based learning space and open it up as a pilot for others to learn and grow. So we're very excited to entertain proposals. And by the way, props to my teammate Angel Mendez to my right. She produced those videos as well as works hard to get the word out on our partners for the benefit and awareness of other educators and other communities across Iowa. So in the event that you're awarded and we all march down the aisle together, Angel will become a very close friend as well. So with that, I'm going to pause and turn this over to Southeast Regional STEM Manager Christine Bullock, who shepherded the STEM BEST model. Christine, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jeff. I saw some questions in the comment box about Davenport specifically. If you have questions about these programs that we talk about today, I would suggest you go to the iowastem.gov, and under the Educator tab, there is a page for STEM BEST and STEM-RLE that has the contact information for previous awardees that you can reach out to. So Matt, if you'll go to the next slide. So a little bit of background on the STEM BEST program. As Jeff mentioned, we had an RFP that was released last August for our first round of funding that we awarded in December. And this is now our second year, similar to the STEM-RLE, for a request for proposals. And the main goal for the STEM BEST is, like the name describes, with businesses engaging students and teachers, is to unite the expertise of public and private sector partners to help strengthen that continuum from school to careers. And it's driven by 3 attributes that are outlined more specifically in the proposal: that it's education driven by industry and community need, it's rigorous, relevant, and dynamic STEM curriculum, and it's authentic partnerships. And as you can see with the criteria and the scoring rubric, those 3 things are really emphasized on the point values in the rubric. So next slide. Previously, we had opened the STEM BEST program up to 9th through 12th grade programs, but this year it is open to K-12 programs, public or private schools. We haven't had any models that are the K-8 range, but we think that that might be an interesting platform to help launch one of these models. But it has traditionally been in the 9th through 12th space, because a lot of times the students are going out into industry, and just based on age and transportation logistics, that's where we've traditionally seen them. Businesses, like Jeff mentioned, economic development groups, higher education, can apply in partnership with the school districts. We think that it's really important that the school districts are not applying by themselves and getting a shallow letter of support from another partner, but really fully integrated together. So we highly encourage that. And since Iowa has a lot of rural communities, we do give preference to districts who partner or cluster together to share resources, whether that be facilities or business partners, staffing. Next slide. As I mentioned, we awarded 5 programs in December of 2014, and these programs actually represent 14 different school districts, about half of them clustered with another district partner, and some of them more in other cases. Bettendorf and Pleasant Valley partnered to do a specific IT computer science academy based on the academy structure that they've had previously. This was adding a new strand. Cedar Rapids and College Community have partnered in the Iowa BIG program, where they pull students from both districts into a common space in the Nubo district of Cedar Rapids to do some really great innovative things with quite a few business partners that are right there. And some students are there for 1 hour, some students are there for multiple hours of the day. Kirkwood Community College, the University of Iowa, and their 7 district partners have partnered at the Kirkwood Regional Center at the University of Iowa here in Coralville to partner on the STEM Innovator Program, which will be part of the career academies that the students are coming through for Kirkwood. Northeast Schools is a small school district up in Goose Lake, and they kind of blended the STEM BEST and the STEM-RLE. They realized that being a very small school district, they needed some technology resources to connect their students to business partners via the internet. And so they've kind of got a redesigned learning space as well as the business partnership side. And Rock Valley up in Northwest Iowa, again, a small community, developed rocket manufacturing. Their manufacturing is a huge industry in their area, so they're specifically going to that type of program. And they're bringing manufacturing to their school. So they have a whole manufacturing facility within their school, and our funds help to support some of the equipment, the training for teachers, teacher externships to support that program in-house. So the next slide highlights the accomplishments of the past awardees. So starting this fall, the awardees have identified that they will have over 315 students participating in their programs, 140 or more business partners. I know that that's grown over the summer, some of the awardees, so that their students did not want to take off this summer, so that number was growing. And of that 140, about 50 of them were brand new from January to June. 31% female participation, some programs over 50. As you probably saw in the RFP, we do place emphasis on a strategy to recruit underrepresented students in STEM, and that includes females and racial minorities, even the low socioeconomic students. And so that will be something that if you apply, that you'd want to identify how you're going to track that and recruit those students. And as Jeff mentioned, cost share is a component of the rubric, and these districts brought over $800,000 in cost share. Some of them brought in significant cost share. Their districts had planned to add an addition to their school and had a lot of equipment, and they needed the $25,000 to more support things that weren't allowable with equipment funds. And so they wanted to take site visits and have a teacher externship and stipends for teacher to take time out of the classroom. So even though it might look like, why do they need our funding if they have so much in cost share? That I know that school districts have, some things that are allowable costs and different funding streams, and some things are not. The next slide highlights how the funding can be used for the STEM BEST proposals. This is very similar in some sense to what can be used for the RLE. Curriculum development, that's one of the top point values in the rubric, and so that will be really important on how you discuss you're going to redesign your curriculum. You could take site visits to some of the exemplary models that we've had scale in Iowa that I mentioned previously, or if you desire to go out of state, the transportation costs for that, hotel costs, stipends. Participation in conferences or programs geared towards partnership development. Some of you may have attended the June 17th STEM BEST event that we had in Ankeny, and we provided hotels at the time for that event, but if there were any costs related to going to a similar program, you could put that in your proposal. A needs assessment, so you might work with your local chamber or economic development institution to figure out what are the needs of your community. Direct and indirect costs for staffing. Professional development for STEM teachers and partners, so you might have a professional development talking to partners about how to work with school districts. You might have a teacher externship in a local business that you're going to be partnering with. We had one district last year, or one program, that a significant portion of their funds were used for a business development specialist that went out and recruited businesses throughout the year. That was the Iowa Big program, so if you would have questions for them on how they utilize those funds. Other unforeseen costs that you would probably not outline in your proposal, but if you were awarded funds, they would be subject to approval. And like Jeff said, cost share is required. There was one question about in-kind cost share, and so you could do things such as if your district released time for somebody to support your program, but these funds weren't actually going to be used to pay them, you could outline that. In-kind contributions, as long as we can quantify them, are accepted. And the next slide, before I get to the frequently asked questions, I thought I would refer to you to the rubric that really the top 2 point values are for the STEM curriculum and community partnerships. So when we're looking through your proposals, we really want to see how your curriculum and your partnerships are going to work together. So partnerships, we don't want letters of kind of a template letter that you send out to multiple partners and get them to sign. We really want to see what will be their specific role. So for example, the STEM Innovator Group out of Kirkwood and the University of Iowa, they outlined for us an identified role for each of their partners. So one partner was involved in assessment, another partner was involved in curriculum development, one in internships for students, one in a monetary investment, one was for job shadows and projects. So outlining specifically how your partners will get involved, and then making sure that you have a breadth of partnerships. So not all of your partners should be doing the same role, because then you will have some gaps. And then figuring out how those partners could help influence the curriculum. So we really want the partners to be involved in that piece as well. So for the first frequently asked question, like Jeff mentioned, the timeline for funds is they have to be expended by June 30th, 2016, and then you will be expected that you're implementing this program in fall of 2016. I would suggest that we had North Central had their community forum and asked questions about how could districts spend their funds that fast. So I would really encourage you to think thoughtfully about when you will be using these funds, to not make all of your expenditures be June events, because then you might be struggling that if you end up having leftover funds, that could be hard for the council as well. So really think about how you might do professional development, equipment purchases in the winter and spring instead of pushing it all to June. Is higher education eligible to apply for this grant in association with districts? So like we mentioned, yes, that is possible. We believe that the strongest applications will have multiple partners with multiple strengths and resources influencing the application, but we would like to see it come from one of the school districts in the proposal. Next slide. Can local cost sharing be spent after June 30th? So although the funds for this program, if you receive the 25,000s, will have to be spent by June 30th, your cost share may extend beyond that. Does it have to be a new model, or can we expand it upon an existing partnership? So we would like to build and strengthen the partnerships that the education and business sector have together, but we welcome new and existing programs. So you might have one that's a very small scale right now, and you would like funds to revamp that and launch it even bigger, and that is fine. The next slide, are these one-time funds, or will they continue into fiscal year 17? On the next slide. Well, it depends every year on legislative appropriations, and so these funds must be expended by June 30th, 2016, and we cannot guarantee what funds will be available then for the next fiscal year. Would Career Academy consortiums be a good path to build these programs and leverage the intermediary network that hopefully quite a few of you are working with? And yes, we would encourage you to work with your intermediaries and build upon those academy programs that the community college has likely done a lot of the research in the background, has a background knowledge about what programs are needed in your community, and so those would be a great place to start. But also working with other entities like the AEAs, Extension, Economic Development, Workforce would also strengthen your application. And finally, on the next slide, is there funding for expenses that occur before the deadline of November 2nd? So you can outline what you've already invested, but we will not allow you to get to qualify those expenses under that $25,000. So will have to be expenses that would occur after November 2nd, but before June 30th, 2016. And can they be spent on remodeling and equipment, not just curriculum development and professional development? So as I mentioned, one of our programs last year, they redesigned, part of their funds went to redesigning a learning space that better supported business partnerships, and so that is an allowable expense. And my next slide just has my contact information if you would like to know more about these programs or have trouble reaching them. So Jeff, do you want to move questions?
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Very thorough. And we hope that one of these two courses of action appeals to everybody dialing into the webinar today. And so, Christine, I don't see the questions on our screen, but you must. You want to peruse the questions, and we can take them on if we have time, if it's not too many?
Yep, we've got 7 questions right now. So the first one that I'll answer quickly would be, will the slides be posted elsewhere? So this will all be posted and recorded on the website, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that one was answered too. Okay. I'm a teacher in a 5-6 building. Would our school still qualify for RLE? I see in the rubric that it mentions 6 through 12 curriculum.
Still? Thought we fixed that. It's open to K-12.
Are you open to RLE innovations that are high quality, essential innovations, but are different than what you have illustrated in your ideas?
You know, let's save that question for last because it's a great segue for what happens next.
Okay. And the Northeast awarded program, that was Northeast Community Schools, and it was Alicia Christensen, and her contact information is on this STEM Best page of our website. Technical question on the proposal submission itself. Can live links to other sites to show visuals of equipment being proposed be used within the 9 pages? So could you have hyperlinks within those 9 pages?
I believe we set that precedent last year, permitting hyperlinks with the understanding to the proposer that no one's under any obligation to actually click on and view them.
Does remodeling a current BEST program in the state strengthen the application? Does modeling after a current BEST program in the state strengthen the application? My opinion, that would be consulting with the models that we already have would be a great strength to your application, as it would show that you've already put, they've already worked out some of the kinks, and so they're great people to consult, but I would not recommend modeling them completely just because you're really trying to make it based on your community needs and the industries and the partners that you have. And so doing a modeling after them, yes, but not completely replicating.
We concur.
And that's all the questions that we had, except for are you open to RLE innovations that are high quality, essential innovations, but are different than what you have illustrated in your ideas?
Okay, perfect. So I totally agree, Christine, that innovation is what this is all about. These are outstanding models that are out there now, and there's certainly common aspects across the RLEs and the BESTs that everyone would do well to pay attention to. But to Christine's point, every district, every locale has a unique fingerprint, and that's what excites everybody, is that this is very customized to your local needs and local partners. So I think everybody here would embrace, when I say everybody here, I'm thinking about we who are going to oversee the selection process would embrace variety, uniqueness, and innovation. And we can't begin to imagine that we dreamed up every possible permutation. So our minds are certainly open. In fact, that's my segue then to what happens next. September 1 looms large, and sorry about that. It is another necessity of the finite time frame in which we live, but we're very excited for September 1. On that date, the applications will be routed through our office. Angel's set up the wizardry to capture the applications, and then we're going to ship them out to the 6 regional managers for the Governor's STEM Advisory Network. If you have not yet met your regional STEM manager, put that high on your list of things to do. They are your first stop on this and any pursuit in STEM education. They're connectors with whatever needs you may have. That said, we're all going to try and capture any Q&A that's exchanged, because we have a double dominant gene for fairness in this business. And so any coaching that I might do, or Angel or Christine or any of our managers for any particular applicant, we're going to capture any coaching and put that on our website under FAQ, which Christine has so nicely started, so that everybody is privy to any information that we give out. And we probably won't ever give out too much more than what you're seeing in the RFP. We threw the whole kitchen sink into that. But if you're interested in further exploration of these concepts, each of the regional STEM managers is offering a local conversation, a local forum. I have the dates, but I'm going to direct you to their websites to find out the exact times. I didn't capture them all, but for instance, Christine's got one coming up on July 28th. Christine?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at?
The Burlington Great Prairie AEA in their 21st century room. So that will be in their redesigned classroom if you haven't seen that yet.
That's awesome. Okay, Angel has pulled up the others. Paul Gibbons, North Central Manager based at Iowa State University, held one on July 16 at 10 a.m. Maybe it's captured, Paul, for posterity by video, or that Paul's available to meet, as he certainly is, with any curious would-be proposer. In the Northwest, if you're part of the Northwest region, incidentally, if you're wondering which region you're in, log into iowastem.gov and click on regions. STEM Northwest, Molly Faber is hosting a forum on July 29th at 10:30 a.m. at the Iowa Lakes Community College Emmitsburg campus. And I'm just pulling all this off the website, which you could easily do too. South Central, Dr. Sarah Derry, South Central Regional STEM Manager, is hosting a conversation about this RFP on Monday, July 27, 9:30 a.m. at the Cowles Library at Drake. And in the Southeast, oh, Christine already mentioned that. Here in the Northeast, Jeff Beneke is holding a conversation on July 24. I don't have the details, but he's easily reachable. And Molly, I mentioned Molly, Deb Frazee, Southwest Regional Manager, August the 12th at 10 a.m. Yeah, get to know these folks. Don't try to buy them lunch. They won't accept it, but certainly get to know them, as they are your one-stop shop for access to all the great STEM resources being brought to bear through the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. So Christine, let's pause in the event that there's other questions or thoughts on your part.
I would recommend not. We had quite a few people that submitted the proposal on the very last day last year. And although it's a tight deadline, just with internet or uploading files, I would suggest doing it a couple of days at least before the deadline.
Good advice. Well, Christine and I are the point of the spear here. We're merely representatives of a vast army behind us, the regional STEM boards, and of course our regional STEM manager partners, the staff here at the Operations Center, in addition to myself and Angel, our co-chairs, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, and mystery co-chair to be named probably next week, and of course the highly supportive Iowa legislature, school district partners, business and industry sector partners, nonprofits, out-of-school community. We're just really honored to be representing this vast community. Very hopeful, very excited that some of you may propose by September 1 to join us in this adventure, where I'm convinced, as I'm sure everybody on this line is, that this is the future of education. The only sustainable model we can imagine is an education model that merges these worlds of the private sector and education moving forward. So good luck with it. Thank you. Contact myself, Weld at iowastem.gov. Christine provided her email on her PowerPoint. It's all widely available at our website. We stand ready to help, and we look forward to applications September 1 with quick turnaround shortly thereafter. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Good luck with your pursuits. Looking forward to our partnership. Thank you.